Hola, mis amores. Welcome to today's episode of the Self-Trust Podcast.
I was about to say the Pouncil podcast, but this is the Self-Trust Podcast.
You already said you're not my co-host. What are you talking about?
I'm not. That's the other podcast.
Oh, you're just a resident co-host now.
Yeah. Whatever you need.
Whatever.
I'm here for support.
Isn't that cute?
Yeah.
I'm so excited to talk to you today. I feel like I say that every episode.
Well, you should be. Your husband, I would hope. Of anybody. If anybody you're excited to talk to with me.
I am. And first of all, how are you? How are you feeling?
Doing all right. Took the week off.
Must be nice.
Yeah. So I haven't really doing much of anything productive.
You've been doing productive things.
Having fun.
Which is very productive and important.
Yeah.
Okay, what else have you been doing?
Just playing video games.
What are you playing? Warzone or something?
Yeah. That's it.
Okay. You know, Kevin plays Warzone.
I feel like I knew that.
Yeah, he was saying he was I don't know, he was saying stuff. I don't speak that language. So I was like, oh yeah, okay, cool. Sounds great.
And then
Him and Raina.
Oh yeah. Makes sense. They
will play together.
They're totally into it. I could definitely see.
So you play video games.
Yeah.
You play tennis.
Oh yeah, of course. That tennis is so ingrained in my daily. I just kind of like forget that it's even a thing.
An activity.
Yeah, but pretty much every day. Hopefully today it stays kind of nice.
You
got time at 5 o'clock.
I mean,
once
we'll
you're
see.
off the clock.
We'll see when we done recording.
We're off the clock apparently today.
Obviously. Cool.
What about you?
I'm doing great. I feel like this week I had a lot of work. I feel like this was a very back-to-back week, and my clients were booking time to talk to me. I got a new offering that I've been giving to my clients, the ones that are ready to move to the next level, and I'm just super excited for that. And a lot, y'all. A lot of awesome things happening with the brand. And I'll be sharing more about the things that are in the works right now a little bit later. But I definitely felt like this week, your girl was working. Like, she was working.
Work.
Hey, first of all, we can't do that. I don't know if they're going to remove this if you try to put people's music here.
Oh. I'm pretty sure they're not going to get me mixed up with Rihanna.
Hopefully not.
Highly unlikely.
Hopefully not. But I'm glad you asked about my week because it really inspired today's conversation. I was talking to one of our favorites, Tiff. It's one of our clients. Well, my client, but JP's a resident business person.
I've had a session with Tiffany, so
yeah, you spoke to her too.
I don't think she did the work though yet.
Don't come for her. She has done the work. She's doing the work right now, and that's part of what we talked about this week. So I wanted us to have a conversation around prioritizing, especially, prioritizing is one of them, but I want us to focus on how do we finish the things that we start.
Yeah, it's not that she hadn't done the work. She's prioritizing other opportunities over some of the things, which is totally fine. You gotta do what makes sense in the moment. We've had one plan before, and we've shifted gears and went in direction. But go ahead, continue the intro.
Thank you.
Well, babe, what's on the agenda for these things? What points are we talking about?
Okay, so the first thing, right? The first thing I think is so important for us to talk about is how do you decide what projects you take on or what things that you're going to adopt, right? So in the context of today's conversation, we're going to focus on how to finish the things that you start in your business, right? So let's get into the first thing, which is how do you even decide what you're going to be working on in the business?
Get a piece of paper, get a pencil, and just start writing down what you want.
Okay.
I think that's kind of like just to get the ball rolling. Who knows where this is going to go? But let's write down what we want. And are we talking just strictly in business or just kind of in general? How do you set priorities? I guess which in turn kind of affects the time you have for your business, right? So write down the things you want. You have to figure out the things that you want. And the reason that's so important is without knowing what you want, you're not going to have a drive to do anything. So you're not really even going to have a reason to prioritize. So like write down your goals in your business, things like that. So when you get to actually writing down what it is you want or how to prioritize once you have your goals, then you have to start aligning the parts of your day or in your schedule in general with the goals that you want. So how much of my time, we'll start there, how much of my time am I going to allocate to, you know, each of these different areas that I'm looking to grow in or the areas I want to have an impact in my business for a schedule. So just to give you an example, right now, you work 100% right now on your business. Got maybe, you know, 5% for me over here, another 10% for Joy over here, another 5% for the family.
First of all, I love that you give yourself 5% and you give Joy 10%. Like, I don't live with you. Like, he's so out of control.
But yeah, you figure out, you know, how much of your time can you give to these things, and then then you move on to, all right, here's where I'm actually, here are the buckets that I have, and here is the time I want to commit to each of those.
Okay, so you said a lot
there. Did.
And I want to go back to the very first thing you talked about, because I think that saying write down what you want sounds really sexy, but when it's time to get practical and do it, it can get really tricky. Can I finish though?
Okay.
Thank you. I wasn't even done my question. Like, how you gonna answer a question that I haven't asked you yet?
Because I wanted to insert a thought there.
Okay, so go ahead, insert your thought.
I was gone now, obviously.
All right, great. So I wanted to talk a little bit about how do you, because it sounds like what you're getting at there is determining your why. Why are you even doing this in the first place?
Yes.
Is that where you were going with that?
So when I remember what I was going to say is that I didn't. So when I first started answering the question, like, it was going to take me a couple of hops to get to the topic. So I was trying to get there as quickly as possible. Because I'm like, all right, we're not here to talk about writing down your goals. But, you know, for me, when you ask the question, that's kind of like, well, I can't get to prioritizing if I don't know what I want, right? So I was going to go down that rabbit, but I quickly saw where that hole was going and skipped along.
I mean, there's nothing, I mean, we don't got nowhere to be.
We don't.
And if you here, you don't got nowhere to be. So we can talk about that, because I think that that's really important, and people hear that all the time. Yeah. Like, what do you want? Write down what you want. Get clear on what you want. But I think that people get caught up on that because it creates this perception that knowing what you want should be innate, like it should come without any issues. And it also creates this idea, which I see this pattern with some other clients, that once you know what you want, it can't change. That is like, this is what I want and it's never changing. And that's not what I've discovered to be true. Like, there are some things that you can desire that may not change in the context of like, that you look like in the big picture, but the everyday activities or the everyday actions that manifest this thing may change, right? So I actually want us to talk a little bit about values. How important it is for you. Have you discovered, can you not touch nothing extra for that sound?
You're right, that is. The podcast, they can't hear that.
This is why he's only a resident host right now. Can we talk about values, Lord? Tell me about values in business. Like, how important do you find that to be with for you, or to be for the people you used to work with back when you used to be a business coach? Like, what's the deal with that? Give us the tea.
I think one of the biggest things around values of business is that, again, people don't know what they value, or the things that they do value. They've only been kind of told this is what they should value, or this is how they should view things. So, you know, the part about getting clear on what your values is to, one, make sure you're separating the things that you actually want from what the things you've been told that you need to want, that you need to want to have. It's an example for my clients. One of the biggest things I hear across all my calls were, and I think you definitely hear this too, is I want to leave a legacy, right? Well, in our community, that's a big thing. Due to the history of this country, everyone feels like they have to have the weight of their ancestors on their back, which, hey, if that's how you do prioritize your value, that's cool. But a lot of times that burden people down, and it's a value, but it's not something that they truly want to hold on to. They just feel like they have to hold on to it because that's the way they've been taught. That's the way they've been raised. And so, getting ahead or getting kind of those things aligned to, all right, are these the values that I want to build on? Or if I was starting from scratch, how would I build on these values? From the values I've learned all over these years, which other values would I then prioritize, versus some others? So, because, that particular value, if that's something that's just holding you down, you feel some type of way about it, that could hold you back in your business from getting, even simple things of making outreach or doing calls to people would do.
That's such a really good point, because I think there's not, like, whatever the values that you have, you can have them, but oftentimes it's what you've said, like, people haven't chosen these values for themselves at a conscious level. They kind of have just known them to be true, or people have passed them down onto them as their values. And I find that a lot of times my clients, when they come to me, they're trying to finish somebody else's legacy, right? So they're like, this is, my family started working on this and I want to finish it and I want to take it to the next level. And they want to build on that. And oftentimes they don't even want to do that shit. Like they think they want to do it, but they really rather do something else. And I know they rather do something else because they feel resentful for having to do these things.
Resentful
against the family or whoever shared these values with them, or these beliefs, or put these beliefs in them. And then they also feel like they're not being true to themselves.
Which is definitely true if you're not value.
And so if you're doing something that you think is a value for you, but you feel like it's not being true to who you are, and then is that really a value? Like, that's something for you as a listener or viewer to really think about, because a lot of times we are doing things and we're doing activities that we have convinced ourselves that we have to do, but low-key, high-key, we don't want to do that, right? So you have to be clear and honest with yourself about what is your intention behind doing this? Where does this even come from? And a lot of people don't even question these things. And that becomes a big turning point for them. So values, get clear on your values. What are values to you? Like, how do you define values?
I don't know if I've ever been asked that question. How do I define values?
Your clients didn't ask you that?
No.
This is why you're not coach no more.
No. Lucky you. Lucky you.
But you be coaching me though. It's all right. It's all right. I'll let you be great. Go ahead.
I mean, on my calls, it was strictly around business. I'm pretty sure I got asked a couple questions about values, but in the call, I'm asking them, what are their values, right? Yeah. Like, when someone's stepping out and doing something kind of like that, their value is already inherent. So by me going out, presenting myself in a way, they watch my videos, so they know the things I'm talking about, the things I find important.
They think they know. They have an assumption.
Yeah, of course. Everybody has an assumption, right? But I mean, on the outside, that's what society says to value, right? But then when you get a layer deeper, it's actually how we started the conversation. Here's what you need to get in line before you can get in front and present your ideas to what audience or in your business. So what was the original question? I want to make sure.
The original question that you did not answer. Well, you did answer it. You said that you hadn't defined it. How do you define values?
For me, my values is to probably define my values when I was like, what are the things that I like to do, just kind of inherently, and what are the things I want to have someday. Right? So,
you did define them. You just didn't.
Yeah, I definitely
defined them.
Yeah, no, I was definitely defining them along the way. A lot around marriage. I've talked about the type of person I wanted to marry, the kind of characteristics that I wanted to have just two. One, possibly from a different culture, so there were a whole bunch of stuff to learn. Spoke a different language. Maybe didn't even live in the country, but from another country as well. So, having a destination wedding on an island,
which he did.
Yeah, had to be. We were able to do all things. Or I've done all these things. You need to go find your wife, but let me know. I have a plan if you want to. But
JP gonna become a relationship coach.
Yeah, for sure. That's the other podcast, right? It's the Pouncils.
You gonna make me have to edit some of this stuff. I'm not. Y'all gonna get the whole raw footage of this. I'm not editing nothing for nobody. I was gonna say we have the same definition of values.
Okay.
Actually, when I think about values, I think about values in the context of two types of values. Well, broken down into two sections, right? So first, I think of my core values or our core values. These are the things that we really care about, not the things that we think we care about, we've been taught to care about, but the things that you really do care about, the things that you as a human being may have been lacking, the things that you really wanted to embody based on your experience, these are your learned values, right? So these are like your core values. And then I think about aspirational values. These are the values that you want to complement your core values with. This may be the things that you're not as good at that you want to get better at, or these are the things that you see other people embodying that you would like to adopt. So I think about them the way that you think about them too. And I think it's really interesting because you can change your values. Like your core values, it's going to take a little bit of work to change those values because you've learned those values. You've become addicted.
They're in your bones.
They're in your body. That's a whole nother podcast. But it may take more effort for you to shift out of those values and replace them with new values. But you can do that. And as the aspirational values, in a way, they act like that for me. So I like to look at when I was determining who did I want to become, what was the person that Nory wanted to embody. I made my list of like, here's the stuff that I'm popping at, and here's the stuff that I'm not so popping at. And I want to adopt these things in relation to what I know I don't do as well, so that I can hit Super Saiyan level blue.
Prioritization 101.
So that's the first step. Get clear on your values, your core values and your aspirational values. And that can be a whole nother episode, honestly, because there's so much goes into that.
All of these.
So much goes into that, but we're going to keep it high level for you today. All right. So now that we know how to determine what we want to do,
all right,
how do we prioritize the activities that we want to take?
It depends on how much time you have. Depends on how much time you have. So like you're always going to have your baseline things that you have to take care of. So since we're at the point where we're actually going to start prioritizing the things that I want to do, you only got so many hours in a day, right? So you're going to spend 8 hours sleeping, hopefully.
I do. I don't play about that.
Sleeping is important. I get that. Then you got to eat. Can I get an hour and a half of that? Maybe 2 hours to eat if you don't have to cook, right? So that's on the minimum side. So where we're already at 10 hours, right?
Yeah.
And so then work out. It's another hour. Stay shape. 11 hours a day. So we got 13 left. Do you work?
You also, before you even get to work, you have to take care of your bodily functions. Going to the bathroom.
I didn't say that one already.
You didn't say that.
Nope, but then
you
there
didn't
you go.
say that. That's another 2 hours minimum. Because you people be taking their phone to the bathroom, and that'd be like extra time.
So we're at about 12 hours, right?
Yes.
About 12 hours, right? So that's for all the other things that you want to do in life. We're not gonna give account like grocery shopping, having to do all stuff. You got kids will actually be a big category. So
if you have kids.
So let's go with the big one. Most of us have to work. Right? Even if we do have a business or doing entrepreneurship, we're probably in the early stages or
at some point,
and we still have to work. So 8 hours for that. Then you got 4 hours left in the day, excluding weekends. Yeah, you may not have to work. Sometimes you do. So you got 4 hours left. After you do all those things, what are going to go in those 4 hours of the day? I think that's. We're talking about in the case of business, I mean, or if you have the whole day, 12 hours, right? Some people can go on more. Some people just aren't built physically to stay up. Like you hear some of these entrepreneurs, they only sleep 4 or 5 hours a night.
I subscribe to that.
Not everybody can do it, can function, right? So it's got to be realistic. So you have 4 hours if you work, or you have 12 hours if you're in your business?
I think even the 4 hours is an illusion, because that doesn't include checking in with your friends, checking in with your family that may not be near you.
Here comes the prioritization. Is that stuff
important to you? Is that stuff important to you? And I think, I know you said it depends on how much time you have. And I do think that there's an importance to seeing what is your bandwidth. Like, where does these things fit? And time is a measure we use as a society to look at our bandwidth and to determine how do we fall in that bandwidth, for sure. But I think it's also more important for you to look at what brings you joy. Because if you're doing some stuff that doesn't bring you joy, that does not bring you joy, you're not gonna want to do that stuff. And I think we've covered that at the beginning by picking like what you want.
Yeah, so that's why I made those decisions way back then. So when I get to the point of here are the hours I have left, I already know what goes in there. Now, one thing you did say is talking about the family and the friends and the social aspects of a life, especially if you're an extrovert. I think that a lot of time, particularly talk about clients that you work with, a lot of the extracurriculars going on in their life are because of family, right? And we go back to talking about things that we've been taught. You can't talk to me because you're busy doing X, Y, Z. That's not the value that I taught you from somebody's parents or cousin or whoever it may be who feels some type of way because you're focused and prioritizing your time and your energy and your buckets a little differently. That in this case, that bucket for them is either shrunk or it's non-existent, right?
You know, for me, I actually really appreciate Stephen Covey's. He has a process to prioritize time, prioritize how you move through things. And I think it does a really good job at touching on the things we talked about. So in his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he breaks down a methodology to prioritize your time or to prioritize the activities you do in your life so that you don't feel drained through this process. And it's interesting because before I read it in that book, this is how I would talk to my clients on how to do this before I knew that he was doing it. It's probably because it works. The first thing he talks about is to create some buckets, right? So I'll explain to you how I explain it to my clients and how I put it into practice myself. So you outline the 5 buckets that are the most important things for you in your life. Like, these are the 5 things you care about, the things that you love. It's like you have to be able to engage in these 5 things during a week, right? The first thing will be family. I'm just saying that first because it came to my mind. That doesn't have to be your first thing. The first thing really is self. The first thing is self.
First thing is definitely self.
Making sure that you're good, whatever that means to you. That includes working out. That includes eating the food that you gotta eat. That whatever you as the foundation need to make sure that you have so that you can live according to how you want to live, right? So that you can set yourself up for success. So self. Then let's get into family. You may want to spend some time with your family. Family includes both immediate and extended family. So you got to figure out how you want to prioritize those people, right? So if you have a spouse, for example, they included in that family, the immediate family circle. Then you have your friends, the people that your chosen family, as some of us will say. And then you have your business. This may be, if you have a business, if you're here, you probably have a business or want to have a business. And then you have your community. So these are like things that don't fit under family and friends, but you may like to volunteer. You may go to church. You may be in a fraternity or a sorority. Those things fall within community, right? And the idea is that when you're doing your prioritization, you don't look just at one day. You look at your whole week. And I love this because it amplifies the concept of time. Then you're not trying to pack everything into those 4 hours or 12 hours you were talking about. Now you're looking at 148 hours. That's something that's really great. But 148 hours. And then you can, which We know it's less than that, but you're looking at 148 hours as you're planning all these activities so that you can hit these different things. So that means that you may not talk to your family every day, but you may talk to them twice a week. You may not talk to your friends every day, but you may talk to them once a week. You may not be spending every day with your community, but you pick a time in the week where you hit that, because you're going to spend a third of your life sleeping. That's just facts. So you want to be able to look at the remaining of your time and hit those points that you really care about so that you don't feel depleted. You don't feel like you're doing things that do not bring you joy. And this is one of the things I was talking to Tiffany about earlier this week was, hey, you have to embed joy and rest into your schedule. And once you have your values, here's the gag, you have to live by those values. Because a lot of times people set the value, but they tuck it away in a Google Doc, and then they never come back and look at them. And then they'd be upset because they're not living the life on their own terms.
Or because of the Google Doc.
Or because it's in the Google Doc. This is not sponsored by Google, but if y'all want to, holla at me. Which brings me to my next question. How do you deal with distractions? So let's say you outline your values, you found a prioritization method that works for you, and now it's time to execute.
Uh-oh.
How do you deal with distractions?
Oh, man. This is the hardest part because everything is good. Everybody has a plan till they get punched in the face. And when it comes down to actually taking action, that's where the punch in the face or in the gut, you can literally sometimes feel it in your gut that you know that you're not doing or taking the action that you want to. You made your plan and you're just like, why can't I get myself to actually follow through with the plan?
And execute. What's the biggest challenge for you when you are looking to execute? What would you say is the glaring thing?
Is this really what I want to do? Like, I've proven to myself that I can execute on things that I might not necessarily want to do, but in the moment it makes the most sense to get, well, based on my values at the time, it makes sense because that's why I prioritize it that way, but it may not exactly fit in with, we were talking about earlier, doing something with ease, right? A few days ago we had a conversation. I'm doing something and I'm just like, hey, I don't even have to think about it. There's no resistance when I'm jumping in.
Can we talk about the R word?
The R word makes its appearance.
There's a few R words we're going to talk about.
Makes its first appearance.
The first R word makes its appearance.
Yeah, so
how does, talk about resistance, because I think that happens a lot to all of us. And I got stories for resistance on days if y'all want those. But it's not about me right now. Talk to us about resistance and how you navigate that. Like, what does that, first of all, what does that even look like in a practical sense?
It looks like sitting on the couch and not wanting to do anything. I mean, outside of like resting, like obviously you need your rest, but it's like, all right, I have a plan. I've listed out the things I'm going to do. I've allocated the time in the day or the week when those things are going to get done, and I just don't go do it. That's what it looks like.
So you feel the resistance, and then you enter avoidance mode or escapism mode, and now suddenly cue in the dance of procrastination.
Yes. And so for me, when I'm doing that, I'm like, all right, well, if I'm avoiding this thing so much, is this really something I want to do? Right? So it kind of goes back to that value question for me, at least. But at times it is, I can definitely understand how it's just difficult to take action, particularly if you're comfortable, particularly if you don't feel like you have a reason to, and you give yourself excuses, or you may, honestly have something from your past, maybe some type of issues or trauma that's actually holding you back from taking this action, whatever it may be. So say if you're talking about business and we scheduled out part of our day, and part of our business is actually going out and talking to people. Well, if you're naturally an extrovert, or going out and talking to people reminds you of something that maybe happened in your childhood, you're not going to be as able to just step out and overcome that resistance.
And honestly, this is not even a hypothetical example, because this is what happened to me.
No way. What are you talking about?
This is what happened to me, girl. Let's talk about it. So when I started my business, a big part of it obviously is finding the people that work with me, right? It's being able to say, hey, person that doesn't know me, I'm Nory, this is what I do. Do you need help with this? You know, like, is this something that you will find beneficial? Mm-hmm. And the coach we were working with, Sam Evans, which is super amazing. Y'all should go ahead and get his stuff. He talks about doing direct outreach, right? As part of an organic strategy to build your clientele. And when I tell y'all, and y'all might have heard this example already on another episode, but at the time I was like, just hit me with a bus. I don't want to do this. I don't want nothing to do with this. And if you think about it, if I get hit by a bus, I go to rest, and then I definitely don't do the outreach, right?
Well,
so
who's gonna support me?
That was not my problem.
Excuse
at
me.
least not something I was thinking about. I'm just keeping it 100. And what really that was a manifestation of an emotional wound I hadn't healed from.
Where did you already know? Where did shoot you at?
You already know. And this was a wound that developed when I was a child, and my parents, my mom moved to the United States, and I stayed in Honduras with my aunt. So what this did at the time was create this illusion, because when you were a kid, you don't know. You don't have context. All you know is that...
How old were you?
I think I had to have been 5 or 6.
Okay.
You know that prime age. Of
course.
Where...
That's when you're old enough to actually do something to get in trouble. Like, before that, before you go to school, it's like, no, we're not trusting you to do
anything.
Like, I'm not giving a 4-year-old anything to do, right? But a 5-year-old who's been in kindergarten, all right. At least I know you know how to at least color in the lines a little bit.
You know how to do something.
So, all right.
So, what happens with emotional wounds is that there are experiences that you have as a child, for the most part, and you don't have context. And you can have these things also later on in your life, but a lot of the ones that we are dealing with get compounded on the ones from childhood. So, what happened was my mom moved to the States, and I didn't have any context as to why I didn't get to grow up with my mom. And my mom and my father, my biological dad, they weren't together. So my mom lived in New York. My biological dad also lived in New York. And I have an older brother. He was living in another part of the country.
Right. Your mom was like, you know what? I think it's best for you guys to be apart.
So everybody got separated. And I have a younger sister who wasn't born at the time. So I didn't really grow up with my immediate family. Right. And this led to this question of why. Why did I get left alone? And this feeling, this emotion of abandonment developed because I didn't have any context as a kid. So kid Nory was like, this is my fault. I'm the reason why. I'm not good. Well, at the time, the feelings of not being good enough, because if I was good enough, they would have kept me, you know? So this is the story of a lot of my clients. A lot of people that I work with have a similar situation. It may not be abandonment, but there's certainly things there on rejection. That's another emotion that was written there, right? Rejection. Yeah. So when it came time to do this outreach, when it came time to go find the people that I can help, because I'm so dope at what I do, it was difficult to do that because there was this inherent fear of being rejected. So I convinced myself at the time that if I didn't do that, I didn't have to put myself in a position to be rejected. So I would not even do it.
You weren't like, they weren't taking orders and you were delivering. You were like just going up and ask people, you want some bread?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And I didn't want to be rejected. So
well, tell me more about wanting to be or not wanting to be rejected. How do you think you developed that at such a young age?
How did I develop that fear of the fear of rejection developed as that? I think it became kind of like a convoluted situation, right? Where it's like, I'm not with my parents. Something must be wrong with me.
Okay.
They reject me because something is wrong with me. They don't love me because if they loved me, they will be with me. Because everybody that's with their kid, that loves their kid, has their kid. So it was more about that trajectory in the mind. And
what
it's
do you
not
think you
like
learned that part at? Just society?
Seeing
everybody else together?
I definitely think it was seeing, because I grew up with my aunts and their kids were with them.
Yeah.
So I would see them with their kids, but I would not, my mom would come and like leave and whatnot. So there was some of that. And I also think that as a child, I did feel rejected. I felt that kids were mean to me. The kids are mean to everybody, but kids were definitely mean to me. And they will like, you know, say kid things. And I felt that, I probably really felt that kids always, the feelings of not being good enough were there. Like, I seemed to be able, people, like, I had people praising me, like the adults were praising me, but the kids were not, right? So peer pressure and like, you know, that energy, you can only do so much with the kids don't know nothing. You got to go to school with them. You got to be around them. So you're hearing an abundance of these messages more than the other. And I think that developed a lot. So that is why it's important for you to get to the heart of your emotional wounds, because they have a direct implication and impact on your ability to execute. Because that whole time, I remember one time I sat on this computer for an hour and I was like, you're not going to get up from here until you send at least 5 messages to 5 people you don't know. I cried for the entire hour. And I know it sounds like I can laugh about it now and kiki with you, but like it was so intense for me because I'm
just thinking
she don't care.
No, at first I thought you was basing her executing. I can't wait to talk to her about all the work she's did today.
She was not.
How many people you reach out to? Damn, babe, that's a lot. I gotta make sure I do that tomorrow.
Yeah, not it. We were living different lives.
Which is cool. We've actually talked about this. I don't know if we talked about it on the podcast, but we were talking about, you know, it takes time to actually have to go through it and see that you have these blocks and then take steps. Because although when we started our business, I didn't necessarily have that resistance. In another business I had started with my friends, or I didn't start, but I joined with my friends. That was part of my role, was to reach out to coaches. Well, I had the same thing. I'm sitting there looking at the computer for hours, like, all right, just press send on this email, JP. And I may have sent it to 5 coaches at the time for this business, but you know, I should have been doing that like every day, doing quote unquote. But I might not have the same fear. For me, it was more, thought process was, hey, they don't know me. I don't have any credibility. Who am I? Just reaching out to these coaches. And that's part of how I feared of being rejected, which is interesting because you mentioned something earlier that the experience you had growing up kind of programmed you in one way. For me, when we used to have to when we sold candy at school, I never really saw it that way. Or I never really had that for us, or when they would have us sell candy for the fundraisers or whatnot, there was many to gain. Right. So yeah, we're raising money, but hey, if you sell this many, you get to pick this thing out of this catalog of toys, candy, or whatever you wanted, books, based on how much you sold. So they made it a game. So we're actually watching Elon Musk talk about gamification. That shit works for kids too, apparently.
It obviously does.
When they're doing fundraisers along within video games, but
that's because there was a reward.
Yes, exactly. That's what I was gonna say. There was a reward. So if your aunts would have said, hey, there's a reward at the end. So, I mean, you didn't get like money from it, did you? They just...
No. So what JP's talking about, growing up, my aunts used to sell cocoa bread. That used to be like...
I'm in love with the cocoa.
No, absolutely not. They used to sell cocoa bread in the community there. It's delicious. We used to have like a bakery.
Yeah.
So they will make this bread really fresh and we will go and sell it, right? So this is between the ages of like 7 or 9. And this is what I remember, which means that I can totally be off on all these things, by the way, because the memories like that. But I remember selling the cocoa bread and I never really got rewarded for doing that. I don't remember doing that. I also don't remember being asked. Because
no, did you ask?
For a reward?
Yeah, or something to get paid. Like,
I'm
even
pretty
then,
sure that
I was like, if I'm doing anything, I'm getting paid, y'all.
Yeah, that's not that. I can't speak to that. Like me asking my aunt, "Hey, pay me for selling this bread." Like, I don't recall that being something that I might have done. I mean, I don't know. I'll have to ask them if I ask that question.
But obviously,
but I definitely felt like I was not good at it. I would say there was a part of me that felt that I shouldn't, and this is a belief that I developed at that age, that I had to address in my business. I felt that I shouldn't have to do that. I shouldn't have to be here selling this bread because my mom was in the United States.
My mom was making it rain all over.
She was sending money for me, for them to take care of me. And I genuinely felt like, why do I got to do anything over here? I shouldn't have to do any of these things because Queen. My mom is taking care of things.
Take your rightful throne, princess.
Queen works for me. And they weren't down with that. They were not. They really wanted to teach me about being humble, about, doing all these things. And I think the way they went about doing it just led to some of those things happening, but a lot of other unintended consequences also taking place. So when I think about it, that's kind of how that played for me, for sure.
So were you humbled?
People say I'm humble. Okay. I want us to get back to talking about distractions a little bit because that's how we went on this entire resistance tangent. This is not a tangent. This is very important for you to know. Distraction? Because resistance is a type of distraction. And it can't, resistance, if you avoid it, if you do not go towards it, if you don't move past that inertia.
Run right through it.
It will have the power to distract you from achieving your goals and doing what you have to do. What I will say about resistance, though, is it's a great teacher. So really taking the time to evaluate and see, okay, I'm struggling with this, I'm struggling with that, and just giving yourself grace to open that Pandora's box and begin to unpack what is it that about this activity that is causing the resistance, or not necessarily causing the resistance, that it is triggering the resistance because it's already there, right? So what is it about this circumstance that is taking you to that place is going to help you get to the root of that, in the heart of it, so that you can do something about it. So that's really how I ended up moving beyond that. It was like, you know what? We need to figure out how this thing got so much power over you that you can't get it done. And if there's something about me, I like to get whatever I want to do done. Like,
get it done.
I like to get it done. Okay? If I want to do it, I want to get it done.
But if she don't want to do it,
I don't get engaged.
Just ask her and maybe she'll change her mind later.
Maybe. So we talked a little bit about a few things, and I want to recap on some of this so we can come to like maybe the final point.
All right.
So the first thing is, if you want to finish the things that you start in your business, you have to get really clear on what are your values. These values should be answering the question, why are you doing these things? What is it that you want to do? And I think those are the main two that we talked about. Then the second thing you want to do is you want to be very specific around prioritizing the tasks that you want to take. Keep in mind that there are things that you care about. You just determine your values, right? So you want to utilize your values to help you prioritize your activities in your business so that you don't feel depleted, so that you don't feel overwhelmed, and so that you're moving at your own pace and hitting your goals because you're making progress and you're focusing on that progress and not on the outcome that you're getting. You also want to make sure that you're mindful around distractions. The one distraction that's going to show up for sure if you're doing this for the first time is going to be resistance. Don't run from it. Give yourself grace through the process and allow yourself to see what is it about it that's causing this resistance. What is it triggering, so that you can get to the heart of that with time and be able to shift out of it. At this point, it's really important that you acknowledge that this is going on, because a lot of people be like, this ain't my story, this is not me. They think that they start feeling guilty and they start feeling shame for feeling like this. And that does not help you get to the root of the situation. Okay. So it's very important that you acknowledge this. Do not run away from the reality, no matter how uncomfortable it is, because you're going to have to face it so you can change it. You can't change something that you keep on hiding in the closet. How you going to see it? You'll be able to see it.
Is that Michael Jackson song about keeping something in the closet?
No. I mean, I wasn't thinking about that. I was thinking about you keeping your emotions in the closet.
Oh, you're talking about me?
Obviously. Moving on to the next thing. So after
we found them out. We found them. They were hiding in the closet. We talked to them. We found them.
We want to heal them. We had a whole 3-hour session, you and I.
Yeah.
See, even JP gets my services. I'm looking at my notes over here.
That's what she's looking at.
So we talked about distraction. So now, the last question. How do we execute consistently? Let's say that we managed to get the distractions on the wraps. How do we execute
I think I'm still working on that one.
That's still a process for you? I think you execute very consistently.
Yeah. I need to be more consistent. Is that a word? I guess it's probably what's the biggest room? The biggest room is the room for opportunity, a room for growth, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we all, always want to be better. Typically, I may put more pressure, but I probably am above average at executing on the things
I think
that
you're
I
well
want
above
to
average.
do.
I mean, you were a Gates scholar. You don't become a Gates scholar by not executing.
That is true. That is true.
So.
But that was one thing. I'm getting back to your original question. That was something, and you mentioned this earlier, something I wanted, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it made the actual doing the execution
easier.
It made it so much easier. It was like, well, this money is designed for me. I was literally saying these affirmations, and I'm like, this is designed for me. They're putting this money out there. It would be wrong if I didn't get this money. I just need to create a couple systems and be on my way, right?
And that's how you execute consistently. Systems. Let's talk about systems. It takes him a while to get here, but he arrives.
I'm just going to start from now on with the answer is systems. Alex.
Systems.
That's funny.
So the key is to have some systems. And I know for someone like me, a lot of my energy is, I don't want no systems. I don't want no structure. I don't want to be in a box. I don't want to be all these things. And that manifests in the form of chaos. And chaos is part of the human experience. So I'm not even tripping for that. But what tends to happen is things just don't get done. And when things don't get done and you have not done the emotional healing work, you tend to respond to it like that 5 or 6 or 7-year-old version of yourself.
I don't want to do it.
Not only I don't want to do it,
make me.
You also jump into feeling shame because you may feel some type of rejection. You may feel like the feedback that you're getting is criticism of your identity and not of the way that you're operating in a space and moving in a different way. And then sometimes you feel like you're not loved because you're not executing a certain outcome that you perceive people want or expect from you, right? So it's so critical that you know that that's at play, because if not, your 5, 6, 7-year-old self is going to talk you out of doing the things you really want to do out of fear of being hurt, out of fear of being judged, out of fear of not being loved. And a lot of my clients, we do child work together because that is the version of themselves calling the shots. And they're consciously get frustrated because they like, why can't I do this? Like, I care about it. I'm not lazy. I do all these things. Why can't I execute on this? Yeah. And it's because you're not going to the heart of the root of the cause. You're not looking in the closet. So it's so important that part of your system at this stage is acknowledging how you are feeling, acknowledging that there are some emotions triggering these feelings, and paying close attention to what are the thoughts that trigger these feelings in the emotions to begin with. So systems, the answer is systems.
And that's why we're here on the
Self-Trust Podcast. JP be having to remember. Yo, quick pause. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts.
Subscribe to the Apple? Which one? The green? The green one's on?
Subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts. If you enjoyed this conversation, please leave us a 5-star review.
Oh, yes.
And hit me up on Instagram or Pinterest so we can keep the conversation going. JP, what else do you want to tell people about how to finish when they start?
How to finish
things. Any final words?
Start. Final words. Figure out what you like. And, one of the things that you can do in business, luckily, you can pay people to do things you don't like to do. So, if you're just like right now recording a video, if we didn't like recording this or not recording, editing, just record it and ship it out and have somebody else do the editing. You also may not have time to do, the editing and do things like that as well if you do work a 9 to 5. So, outsourcing is one of the strategies that you can take.
I would say have fun. Don't do this with an attitude because it don't work. I've done it. I can tell you from experience right now, I work with people that are so amazing. My clients, they are dope, they are ambitious, they're hardworking, they're loving, they're caring.
Okay, I saw you do the show to action. Tell them, babe.
They poppin'.
Tell them about them.
They're such powerhouses, but they're trying to live this double life, and they're doing things with an attitude because they get frustrated with feeling like they have to postpone their dreams and their desires for other people. And then they move like someone that got an attitude. You ever been around people that got an attitude? It's not a pleasant experience. So it's so important that you don't have an attitude when you're doing the things that you're doing, because you're going to exude that same energy into everything you do. And you're here to do some dope stuff. I want to see what you're working on. I'm pretty sure you have some amazing ideas on how you're going to leave a legacy and how you're going to break these generational curses and how you're going to make an impact in your community. So it's so important that you do that with love and kindness and compassion so that you can showcase that. Yeah. Thank you for joining us for today's episode. This was a lot of fun. I feel like this is one of our best combos.
Like ever?
Like since you became a resident podcast host. Yeah. What did you think? Did you agree with that?
Yeah, it's good. We got to keep it fun a little bit.
Have fun. See?
Yeah,
it shows up.
Keep it fun.
Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts and to leave us a 5-star review. And we will see you next time.
Later.
Hasta luego.